The shocking truth behind daily actions that haunt you forever. Are you affected? In a quiet little town, something sinister lurked beneath the ordinary. An eerie chill crept through the streets each dusk, as if the sun itself warned about the unknown. People filled their nights with TV shows and social media, completely unaware of the secrets haunting their everyday lives. But if they only knew, realization would hit them like a freight train. You see, last Tuesday, Mrs. Fenwick, the sweet old lady who ran the bakery, experienced a moment that would change everything. After decades of serving fresh pastries, she was suddenly thrown into chaos. A customer took a bite of her famous blueberry muffin and screamed. An unearthly howl echoed through the cozy shop as Mrs. Fenwick's face drained of color. It wasn't the muffin that shocked her, it was the tiny mechanical voice that squeaked from inside. "Help me!" it pleaded, sending shivers down the spines of everyone nearby. Then there was Tom, the high school football star, who couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Late at night, he felt as if eyes followed him, shadows slinking along dark corners. Just last week, he spotted a reflection in his bedroom mirror that wasn't his own. A distorted visage with hollow eyes grinned back at him. Heart racing, Tom struggled to convince himself it was nothing. But the mirror had whispered secrets, dark and unsettling, just as the town's history had buried its own. And in the dim light of Jack's attic, a dusty box remained undisturbed, its surface covered in decades of dust. But whispers, actual whispers, could be heard if one dared to listen closely. A broken clock inside still ticked without batteries. Each tick echoed passages of, "Find me, remember me." Tension grew as people started connecting the odd happenings. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the sun set deeper and the eerie shadows lengthened, every resident started feeling the weight of dread, as if the actions of their days were stitching them into an unbreakable web. They shrugged it off when days went by with little change, but hearts raced each night as they heard the soft hum of voices in the distance, whispering a truth that hung just out of reach. It was clear that everyone was being drawn in, pulled closer to something dark. The question lingered over everyone's heads: what would happen when the secrets finally unleashed their fury? Who would be strong enough to face the chilling truth hidden right under their noses? The clock was ticking and time was running out. The following morning, the town awoke to a palpable tension. News of the disturbing incident at Mrs. Fenwick's bakery had spread like wildfire, but the whispers of dread had morphed into something too big to ignore. Parents squeezed their children's hands a little tighter, friends exchanged glances that lingered too long, and the air buzzed with a collective anxiety. Tom couldn't shake the sensation that each step he took led him deeper into a maze of shadows. At school, he tried to do the usual things: throw the football with his friends, laugh at jokes that didn't quite land. But every time he glanced at his reflection in the glass doors or the polished metal of his locker, he caught that flicker of something watching him back. It wasn't just a feeling anymore, it had become a presence that haunted his every moment. Meanwhile, Jack felt the weight of the dusty box in the attic tugging at him. The broken clock's relentless ticking filled his nights with a maddening rhythm. Each sound pulled on his thoughts like a fishing line caught on something big. Determined to face whatever was buried in the mystery, he climbed up the creaky stairs to his attic, heart pounding, pulse racing. "Find me, remember me," the clock seemed to whisper every time he wound it. He yanked the box into the light, revealing an assortment of faded photographs and yellowing papers. But beneath those harmless mementos lay another object, a small, intricately carved wooden key. It shimmered with an unnatural glow, tempting him to reach out. As his fingers brushed against it, a surge of energy coursed through him, sending shockwaves of images flooding into his mind, faces crying out in anguish, echoes of despair that belonged to people he didn't recognize. Outside, Mrs. Fenwick had taken a stand. The bakery was now closed, but she wouldn't let fear conquer her completely. Armed with a broomstick, she confronted the townsfolk gathered outside her shop, accusing her of bringing a curse upon them. "I'm done hiding," she yelled, her voice trembling with fury and fright. We need to face this. Whatever it is, wherever it came from, we can't let it take root. But her bravery faltered as that mechanical voice returned, resonating in the silence. Help me! It echoed. The crowd gasped, and just as they snapped to attention, the townsfolk saw something moving behind Mrs. Fenwick. A dim shadow swirled, taking shape beneath the neon bakery sign. The figure seemed to pulse with an ancient energy, a terrifying allure that bound them, leaving everyone paralyzed, gripped by a shared sense of dread. A chilling realization cascaded over them: this was not just a simple curse. They were part of a greater story, a tapestry woven from sorrow and darkness, and now this dark essence craved to reveal its secrets. What do we do? A voice quivered. A young woman stepped forward, glancing toward Tom and Jack, her eyes wide with panic. They would have to unravel the truth and confront the secrets that lay buried deep in the town's history. But who would dare to lead them into battle? As fear and a twisted sense of purpose intertwined, a single thought hung unspoken in the air: if they failed, would they become the very whispers that haunted this town forever? A figure shifted again in the shadows as the sunlight failed. The clock resumed its relentless ticking, and something terrible stirred. What had they woken? Jack's heart raced as he stood frozen atop the stairs, the eerie glow of the key pulsing in his hands. Each thrum echoed with a rising question: what had he just unleashed? His thoughts flew in every direction. Would it be too late to turn back? He could hear the muffled chaos from below, the townsfolk stirring restlessly outside Mrs. Fenwick's bakery. A part of him wanted to abandon this nightmare, shove the key back where he had found it, but he couldn't. That relentless whisper wouldn't let him. Find me, remember me. The voice curled around his thoughts like smoke, leading him deeper into oblivion. Outside, the crowd's murmurs grew louder, confusion mingling with fear. Tom stood at the edge of the throng, grappling with his own growing dread. He spotted the flickering shadow behind Mrs. Fenwick, feeling its malevolent pull from where he stood. It wasn't just a shape, it was a presence. His instinct screamed for him to flee, yet there was no escape. Jack! Tom shouted, trying to reach his friend. We need to stick together. Whatever this is, it likes to prey on us when we're alone. Jack! A gasp came from the crowd, quickly followed by a rising tide of panic. Tom felt a rush of dread. Was Jack still in the attic? That thought sent him flying toward the bakery, creating a scene of chaos as he shoved through the horde. The urgency quickened his pace, enough to dismiss the warning laces of danger lurking behind every corner. Meanwhile, Mrs. Fenwick's bravado began to crack. Her broomstick trembled in her grip. She hardly noticed as the shadow grew larger, stretching toward her like a clawed hand. We need to fight it, she yelled, but her voice faltered under the weight of uncertainty. Faces turned pale as the townsfolk retreated, shivering before the growing darkness. The energy pulsed again, drawing them in, and for a moment everyone seemed to hold their breath, united by sheer terror. Tom burst into the attic, the dim light barely illuminating Jack, who was still transfixed by the key. Get away from that! He shouted. But before Jack could respond, shadows flickered across the walls, swallowing the room in their pitch-black embrace. What have we done? Jack muttered, more to himself than anyone. Nothing good, Tom replied, grabbing Jack's shoulder with trembling fingers. He pulled at him, the frantic urgency smashing against the gnawing fear that held them captive. We have to warn everyone. Outside, the shadow began to ripple, morphing into something resembling faces, their twisted expressions conveying anguish and despair, a violent conclusion to the sickness creeping into their town. Tom's stomach roiled, knowing in their depths that whatever this entity craved would not be satisfied till it had bled them dry, but the pulse of the key felt electric in Jack's hand. He lifted it, a dumb hope stirring within him as the murmurs echoed in his mind. What if it can unlock the truth? The truth can set us free. Ignoring the growing threat, he stepped closer to the window, heart pounding with uncertainty. It might be what we need, Jack, don't. Tom shouted, horror-stricken, as shadows coiled around Jack's feet like serpents, closing in, and Jack hesitated, struggling with his instinct to turn the key in his hand. The whispers grew louder, entwining with his thoughts like a dark melody, drawing him in even as his friend's desperate shout rang in his ears. In that moment, doors creaked open and the void encroached. What awaited them on the other side? Would they uncover the truth, or would this malevolent force seize them? The question loomed, heavy and suffocating, as darkness threatened to envelop their fleeting hope. The window rattled violently as if the very essence of the house trembled in fear. Jack's fingers twitched, gripped tight around the key. The shadows danced closer, a writhing mass of whispers and gnashing teeth. He could almost hear their despair, the cries of those who had fallen prey to this darkness. "Jack!" Tom cried again, yanking hard on his arm. The urgency in his voice broke through the haze. "We have to get out of here. We can't confront this alone." But something about the key pulled at Jack, a magnetic force binding him to it. "If we just understand it," he muttered, confusion battling with fear as he fought to peel himself away from the windowless allure above. The stillness of the attic felt eerie, a stark contrast to the chaotic energy thrumming through the air. There was power in the key, and Jack could feel it hum within him, a roaring echo of ancient magic and forgotten souls. Behind them, the shadows began to twist and swirl, a mass that could no longer be ignored. Faces contorted in agony emerged from the cloud, reaching out with elongated fingers, grasping for the warmth of life. Jack stumbled back, the pulse of the key a heartbeat in his palm. "It's feeding on our fear," Tom shouted, eyes wide as he scanned the darkening room. "We need to face it. Don't let it take control." For a fleeting moment, clarity broke through the thick fog. With each breath, the whispers faltered, as if they were unsure, uncertain. It gave Jack hope. "Maybe it can be weakened," Jack's voice emerged, steadier this time. "But I need to use the key. It could reveal what we need to fight back." "Are you out of your mind?" Tom's panic returned, a tidal wave crashing through their fragile resolve. "You don't even know what it does." "All the more reason to try," Jack insisted, fierceness igniting within him, driving him forward. The shadow shrieked, twisting in a violent frenzy, making the air thick with dread. With a deep breath, Jack faced the onslaught. The whispers in his mind crescendoed, merging into a singular chorus. The shadows screamed, clawing desperately at his resolve. If he failed, they would consume him. He could feel the weight of time pressing down, counting moments until he could devise a way to turn pain into power. "Just hold on to me, okay?" Jack said, locking eyes with Tom. "Whatever happens, stay focused. We'll fight this together." He stepped closer to the window, the flickering key glowing brighter with anticipation. The darkness roared around them, and Jack raised the key, determined to pierce through the veil that separated them from the truth. His heart raced as he approached the window. The shadow seethed, but something deep inside roared back against the tide of despair. "Unlock the truth!" he shouted, and with trembling fingers, he turned the key in an unseen lock, feeling the ancient energy surge through him. In an instant, the world around them erupted. Light ricocheted off the walls, illuminating every alcove, banishing shadow. Chaos erupted as the town outside reacted to the sudden brightness. Tom gasped, shielding his eyes, as voices screeched in tandem with the frantic light. "What have we done?" he stuttered, confusion filling his voice. But Jack stood unwavering, staring through the glowing portal that now stretched before them, a doorway to the unknown, past the encroaching shadow, beckoning with the promise of revelation. Then came the sound of laughter, sharp, mocking, and cold. It echoed sinisterly, sending shivers racing down their spines. It was a sound that filled the air with uncertainty, a voice they both recognized but dared not acknowledge. "Welcome back," it whispered, sultry and dreadful, "you've played right into my hands." The portal throbbed as the shadows lunged, furious at being denied their feast. It wasn't over. Danger still loomed beyond the horizon of light, with more secrets hidden in the silence. What had they truly set in motion? The truth written in darkness awaited them, and they had no choice but to confront its terrifying reality. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as the laughter echoed through the attic, a chilling melody that coiled around him like a serpent. The glowing portal shimmered, pulsating with a bright energy that seemed to fight against the encroaching shadows, but the sound sent sharp spikes of icy dread piercing through his courage. "Do you hear that?" Tom whispered, his voice trembling. "That voice, it's not just the shadows. It knows us." Sweat beaded on Jack's brow. He couldn't look away from the sinister portal, even as the shadows writhed, their howling intensifying. "We have to confront it." He shouted, trying to stoke the embers of his resolve, but doubt gnawed at him. What if it's a trap? Tom shot back, his eyes darting to the angry faces swirling within the darkness. We're already in deep enough trouble. Suddenly, a sharp wind swept through the room, disrupting their thoughts and sending papers flying. The shadows momentarily faltered, and Jack seized the opportunity. Tom, we don't have a choice. The key, it's our only chance. He raised the glowing key, its warmth radiating as he stepped toward the portal. Every inch felt like walking through molten fear, but determination surged within him. He thought of the faces in the shadows. Their pain mirrored his own, and he couldn't ignore it. The mocking laughter faded as Jack approached, replaced by a low, expectant hum filling the air. The thin veil between worlds thinned, and in that moment, he recalled a line his grandmother had told him long ago: truth can cut deeper than knives. With a fierce grip, he thrust the key toward the portal. Reveal yourself. Jack bellowed, and the key sparked with bright energy, illuminating the attic as the shadows shrieked in protest. A blinding light burst forth, and the shadows recoiled, swirling wildly. The energy vibrated through the room, and Jack suddenly felt jolted back like a rubber band stretched too far. He fell to his knees, clenching his teeth against the pulse of overwhelming power. Tom, wide-eyed, reached out to him. Jack! Don't let it take you. Fight it. Jack gasped, the air crackling around him. I can't stop now. We need to understand. The portal surged with blurred images and colors, unveiling flickering visions, echoes of the past, moments of agony and fear. Jack gasped as he recognized some, his friends, lost in the shadows, captured in their eternal despair. The truth magnified each soul as suffering, forcing him to confront his own failures along with theirs. No! This can't be all there is. Jack shouted, anger rising within him. Not anymore. Suddenly, a face emerged from the chaos, a ghostly figure with hollowed eyes and a twisted smile. Can you bear the burden of their pain? It whispered, the words curling around him like smoke. Tom gasped, Jack, that voice, it sounds like no. Jack shouted, trying to shake off the intense fear gripping him. I won't let it take me. We must fight. With a newfound surge of determination, he rose to his feet, meeting the ghostly figure's gaze. Help us! He pleaded, his own heart racing. You don't have to suffer forever. The figure's smile widened, an unsettling glee sparking in its hollow eyes. Help you? It echoed mockingly. You already hold the key, but can you handle the truth? Jack faltered, uncertainty washing over him like an ice-cold wave. What truth awaited him? How deep did this darkness go? For every flicker of light, shadows loomed closer, ready to consume. You must decide. The figure hissed, its grin terrifyingly wide. Embrace what you fear most, or surrender to oblivion. Panic surged through him. Could he face this truth? Or would it shatter him utterly? As the laughter echoed on and the shadows lunged forward once more, Jack knew that whatever came next would define everything. Lurking just beyond the light, a new reality awaited, one he wasn't sure he was ready to confront, but there was no retreating now, and as he prepared for the inevitable clash of light and darkness, he realized one haunting question festered in the depths of his mind: what if the truth was worse than the fear itself? Jack's vision blurred, reality twisting within the luminous chaos. The ghostly figure loomed larger, its voice dripping with malice. Face your truth, Jack, it taunted, or be swept away in the tide of despair. The laughter echoed again, resonating deep in his bones, each peal a reminder of the spirits trapped within the shadows. A rush of air filled the attic as the shadows surged, inching closer, their whispers rising to a cacophony. Jack could feel their icy breath, each promise echoing the torment they endured. No more! He roared, desperation boiling in his veins. He tightened his grip on the key, its glow intensified as if sensing his surge of will. I won't let you take me. I choose to break the cycle. As if in response, the figure shrieked, the sound reverberating off the wooden beams like cracking glass. Foolish boy. You think light can defeat the shadows? Every truth has its price. Jack's heart raced faster. You don't own me. I can choose my path. He focused on the faces within the shadows, his friends, their eyes filled with hope, silently urging him forward. The figure's smile faded, replaced by a grimace of rage. You wish for freedom? Then embrace the darkness. It lunged toward him, shadows erupting like a storm, swirling around Jack with captivating fury. Jack closed his eyes, channeling every ounce of strength he had left. The key blazed in his hand, warmth flooding through him. I will face you, he shouted, and with a primal scream, he plunged the key into the gateway. A wave of energy erupted, a shockwave that obliterated the darkness around him. The attic shook as the light exploded, engulfing everything in its brilliance. For an instant, the shadows halted, caught in the radiance, their anguished faces transforming into masks of confusion. Jack felt their turmoil, it was almost tangible. Look within! The figure howled, now a wisp of its former self, voice distorted by fear. Your greatest nightmare awaits. And suddenly, the light dimmed, pulling Jack and Tom into the maw of the portal. The world around them flickered, colors washing over them like a violent tide. Jack's stomach dropped. They were falling, twisting through a panorama of memories, each one a fragment of his life, laid bare before him. Each scene bled into the next, the laughter of childhood friends, the tearful goodbyes, mistakes he had tried to bury deep. Jack! Stay with me! Tom shouted, his voice fading in and out. But Jack was too lost in the whirlwind, grappling with specters of regret and torment clawing at his mind. He remembered the promises he made, the times he walked away when he should have stayed. Faces flickered in and out, each soul echoing his failures, whispering, "You left us." No! Jack screamed, fighting against the tide of shadows. I didn't mean to. I didn't. The portal started to pulse, the glow flickering. Embrace it. The figure's voice echoed through the void. Only then can you transcend. Then, everything stopped. Silence enveloped him, the echoes of despair evaporating in the dark. Jack hung suspended, a breath away from understanding, heart racing. He realized he wasn't just confronted by the faces of lost friends but also his latent fears of failures, lost chances, of unspoken words. I am this space. Something shifted inside him. Hope broke through, as fragile as a thread yet powerful enough to ignite a flame. He felt Tom near, grasping on through this revelation. Together, Jack breathed, determination flooding his veins. We can face anything. Light surged again, and he thrust his hand forward, embracing both the shadows and the light. He could feel the shadowy tendrils retracting, pulsating with hesitation. But dimming shadows only birthed the chance for deeper connections. Everything hinged on this moment. Then, a horrifying crackle surged through the air as fragments of the portal began to pulse violently around them. The choice had been laid bare. They could either dive deeper into the abyss or rise into the light of newfound truth. As the world shuddered, Jack and Tom clung to one another, eyes locked in resolve. Ignited, ready to make their final choice, but as the light enveloped them once more, they couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay ahead wasn't merely the end of their struggle but the awakening of something darker and more sinister within themselves. What awaited them beyond the portal was unknown, but Jack couldn't shake the sense that they were on the brink of uncovering something more than they ever bargained for, something that might change everything forever. What truths would they have to confront to reclaim their lives? Suddenly, Jack and Tom landed with a thud on cold, hard ground. The dazzling light that had engulfed them fractured into a haze, leaving a sinister twilight casting eerie shadows in all directions. Despite the shock of impact, adrenaline surged through Jack's veins. He scrambled to his feet, panicked breaths escaping him as he looked around. Where are we? Tom gasped, brushing dust from his jeans. The atmosphere hung heavy and damp, an unsettling weight draping over them like a shroud. Jack squinted into the murky darkness. A dull glow emanated from a crumbling stone archway ahead. Hesitation pierced the unity they just forged. Do you feel that? Jack asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Tom nodded slowly, his expression a mixture of fear and determination. It's like we're being watched. As they approached the archway, the whispers returned, rising from the shadows like a smoke swirling in the air. They sounded like a chorus of countless voices, speaking in hushed tones, menacing yet mournfully familiar. Remember us, remember your choices. Every word felt like a knife, twisting within Jack's heart. No, not again, he murmured, holding his head in his hands. Doubt clouded him. Every promise he'd made, every abandonment loomed larger than before. Jack! Tom shouted, pulling him back from the brink. We can't let them win. We're not here to drown in regret. With a frantic nod, Jack squared his shoulders. You're right. We've already faced so much. We can't turn back now, he said, drawing on the flicker of hope still glowing within him. A small burst of light, barely a spark, but enough to keep him moving. Just as they crossed the threshold of the archway, a figure materialized before them, tall, cloaked in shadows. The entity's face was a swirling vortex of lost souls, fragmented and haunting. It lifted its hand, and Jack's breath hitched as he recognized familiar faces forming through the dark, friends lost to time, mentors whose advice he'd ignored, and a family member he didn't reach out to in their moment of need. No! Jack yelled, stepping back, but the memories surged forward, snaking closer, pulling him into an abyss of guilt. Each face wore an expression of betrayal, each one reminding him of chains he had forged through silence and missed chances. They did not die for nothing, Jack, the figure rasped, its voice a chilling echo. You condemned them by your passivity. What will you do now? Will you press onward or retreat into the darkness of your own failures? Tom's grip on Jack tightened. Together. We just have to hold on to each other. Jack's eyes flared with determination. I won't let you take me. I won't repeat the past. He reached for the key around his neck, feeling its warmth. It pulsed with an electric energy that felt like a heartbeat beneath his fingers. Light erupted from the key, a blinding flash chasing away the shadows. Jack stepped forward, channeling the weight of his pain, his fears, into the light. I face you. I embrace what I have run from. Screams filled the chamber as Jack pushed through the barrier of shadows that threatened to envelop them, the howls growing desperate. The more he embraced his past, the more the shadows shrank back in terror. He could feel Tom beside him, his presence a tether pulling them both toward the truth, but as the darkness thinned, the figure unleashed a shriek that shook the ground beneath them. You cannot escape. The price must be paid. The light flickered, and panic shot through Jack. He had succeeded in pushing the darkness back, but at what cost? The shadows swirled violently, and doubts twisted through their minds again. What sacrifice were they truly making to reclaim their lives? They had come to confront the darkness, yet an unsettling feeling gripped Jack's heart that something far greater and more treacherous loomed, waiting for them to make their next move. What would they have to lose to truly break free? The piercing scream of the shadowy figure echoed through the chamber, reverberating off the ancient stone walls. Jack and Tom stood frozen for a heartbeat, adrenaline weaving through their veins like fire. Jack, we can't lose our focus. Tom shouted, shaking Jack from his stupor. The haunting faces in the swirling shadows darted around them, pleading eyes glistening with untold stories. Each one was a knife twisting deeper into Jack's guilt. This wasn't just some foggy memory, this was the reckoning. As the entity's form writhed in fury, a flicker sparked in Jack's memory, a fleeting moment, a quiet conversation with his father years before. That echo now clawed itself back into existence. Do you think it'll ever get easier? He had asked, the weight of that summer day hanging in the air. Only if you confront it, his father had replied. You can't bury the past, son. It'll find you. Jack felt that truth wrap around him now. Tom, we have to confront this together, he replied, fighting the rising tide of shadow around him. The entity's voice broke through the painful recollections, commanding and disdainful. You think you can face your past? Every choice is a thread woven into your destiny. You are not free from it. No, Jack shot back, feeling the warmth of the key pulsing against his chest, a tether to hope. We've been running. Now we face it. He turned toward Tom, who nodded fiercely in agreement. With a deep breath, Jack stepped fully into the light radiating from the key. He summoned every ounce of courage, channeling all the regret, pain, and past failures into one decisive thought. I am not what I've done. I am who I choose to be now. As the light intensified, it swallowed the shadows, piercing through centuries of sorrow, illuminating the truth buried within. The faces began to fade, softening into an understanding gaze rather than haunting scowls. Yet with each flick of gold breaking the darkness, the entity twisted in fury. You are nothing without your shadows. The bones of your past hold you hostage, Jack. Maybe so, Jack replied defiantly, but they don't define me. I would rather die fighting for what I believe in than hide from it any longer. In that moment, the air shifted. The shadows shrieked and writhed as strands of darkness began to unravel, floating harmlessly like smoke into the nothingness. The entity's form grew dimmer, its power waning. Face it, Jack. You pull us into the light only to reveal the guilt that will always chain you. The dissonant voices coiled like a serpent, trying to strangle their resolve. Jack felt his heart kick against his ribcage, pounding with the truth. Guilt was a choice, just like hope. I choose hope. His voice echoed out, vibrating the very essence of the dark chamber. Light cascaded around him, enveloping him and Tom in a cocoon of warmth and clarity. The whispers began to fade, a soft hum replaced by the steady rhythm of their hearts, but just as the last scream extinguished in an eerie silence, the abyss below them shifted. Ground tremors rippled outward, and Jack's heart dropped. An ominous rift began to form at their feet, swirling with the remnants of shadows like a whirlpool. What's happening? Tom yelled, panic ringing clear through his voice as they stumbled back above the gaping void. A new sound emerged, a low and terrible growl, echoing promises of darkness yet unheld. You've only scratched the surface. Jack froze, eyes wide in realization. What they had faced was merely the beginning. The true darkness, the true choice, lay below that chasm, waiting for them to descend. What have we awakened? He whispered, terror clenching his chest. And as the rift widened, they both knew they had to decide, leap into the unknown or flee before the shadows consumed them whole. The choice was theirs, but the clock was ticking. The shadows churned below them, dark and swirling like a tempest ready to swallow them whole. Jack could feel the ground tremble beneath his feet, an ominous heartbeat that matched the rising tension in his chest. He cast a glance at Tom, whose face was pale and stricken with fear. What do we do? Tom's voice quivered, breaking through the haze of uncertainty. We can't just stand here. Jack's mind raced. The entity had been forcing them back toward their shadows, and now it was revealing something darker than regret, something that threatened to uproot not just their past, but their very souls. The growl from the abyss echoed again, reminding them of the power they were up against. We need to confront it. Whatever it is, we face it. Jack shouted, his own resolve hardening as he spoke. This was no longer just about confronting memories. It felt like an invitation to gash open the living wounds they tried so hard to pack away. Tom hesitated for a moment, the fear in his eyes battling with the flickers of determination. Jack reached out and squeezed Tom's shoulder, grounding them both. I won't let you face this alone, he said, swallowing the lump in his throat. Let us do it together. With a sharp inhale, they approached the edge of the rift. The air crackled, thick with the smell of damp earth and raw energy. Jack pulled the key from beneath his shirt, its glow pulsing as if it sensed the presence of the abyss. He held it over the swirling darkness, its light reflecting his unwavering courage. Step back, he commanded. Without waiting for a response, that same courage propelled him forward. Jack felt a surge of instinctively fierce energy they had stoked, ready to harness the light against the swirling darkness. Suddenly, a massive shadow lunged from the rift. It had no form or face, only a gaping maw filled with dread. The howl it emitted pierced like ice, a chilling discord that resonated with their innermost fears. Jack stumbled, gripping the key tighter. We are not afraid. He yelled into the void, allowing the light to spill forward, pushing against the insatiable hunger of the shadows. In that moment, it was not just Jack and Tom standing their ground. They felt the presence of all the faces they had encountered, the souls connected by shared pain, each one lending their strength, whispering encouragement. The shadows railed against the warmth, retreating if only slightly. Tom joined him, raising his own hands as if to completely embrace the glow of the key. We fight together. With a guttural roar, the dark entity recoiled, crashing wildly, its form pulsating against the light. You think you have the strength to destroy me? It bellowed, its voice laced with venom. I am the shadows of your past. You are nothing without me. Jack's breath hitched. It knew their fear. It was alive in their doubts. I am more than my past. Jack shouted defiantly. You can't chain me to your torment. But as he spoke, the ground began to quake more violently. The rift widened further, spewing dark energy like a volcano ready to erupt. Behind him, Tom stumbled, panic flooding his features. We need to get out of here. Tom cried, gripping Jack's arm. This place is coming down. No. Jack growled. We can't leave. Not now. He couldn't back down when they were so close. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the key. The shadow screamed, echoing their loss, their hold weakening. Jack could feel the entity's hold shattering, as if every painful memory was being unwrapped before their eyes. But before victory settled in, an explosion of power pulsed from the chasm, throwing them both backward. Air rushed from Jack's lungs as he somersaulted across uneven rock. He gasped, struggling to regain his breath. Above him, catastrophe unfolded. The darkness was writhing, coiling back to the depths like a snake retreating from light. As he pushed himself up, surveying the scene, the ground began collapsing to unveil an even deeper pit. Voices thrashed at his mind, whispering secrets he was not yet ready to bear, promises of choices that would torture them both. Jack! Tom shouted, panic overtaking his voice again as he teetered on the edge, fighting to keep his balance. Shadows flickered around him, reaching, straining against the light. The key slipped from Jack's grasp, rolling toward the abyss. He lunged forward, arms outstretched, heart pounding as reality threatened to warp, made monstrous by the shifting darkness. The choice had to be made, and time was slipping away. Would they reclaim the key and quell the horror, or could they end up lost forever in the echo of forgotten emptiness? The moment lasted an eternity as the abyss yawned wide, ready to swallow them whole. Jack's heart raced as he witnessed the key slip from his grasp, rolling precariously toward the edge of the abyss. No! He shouted, reaching out desperately while the ground quaked and shadows clamored around him, hungry for darkness to reclaim its due. Jack! Tom yelled, alarmed, trying to maintain his footing against the swirling chaos. Jack's mind raced, swift as lightning, filled with overwhelming urgency. They were on the brink. One choice could decide their fate, and he wouldn't let fear dictate their future. Diving forward, Jack launched himself toward the key. Every muscle in his body screamed as he tumbled across the rocky surface, stretching his fingers toward the glimmering object that pulsed with light. Time slowed, breathing was hard, everything felt heavy in the thick air of despair. He grasped the key just before it slipped into the void, its warmth igniting a fierce light in his chest. With newfound strength, Jack rolled to his feet and turned to Tom, whose eyes mirrored the terror of their circumstances. We need to finish this, Jack urged, his voice steady despite the deafening turmoil around them. Together? Tom asked, urgency in his voice, despair flickering momentarily beneath determination. Always, Jack nodded, clutching the key as if it were a lifeline. The shadow shrank back slightly, sensing their unified resolve. He felt the pulsing energy within him, roaring. He approached the edge of the rift, lifting the key high, brilliant as the sun. Get back! He shouted to Tom, who stepped aside, eyes wide with understanding. Jack thrust the key forward, radiating pure light deep into the growing void. This ends now! He yelled, channeling everything, the guilt, the sorrow, the shadows dancing behind him, blending shadows of the past with the bright possibilities ahead. As the key pierced the darkness, light exploded in a blinding flash. The shadows shrieked, a cacophony of despair that cracked like glass, filling the chamber with swirling energy. The ground trembled violently as the swirling darkness began to break apart. Embrace your truth! Jack shouted, echoing with fierce determination. The entity's form quaked in response, its hollowness turning into rage. You think you can erase me? It screamed, voices intertwined into a terrifying blend. No! I embrace my truth! Jack shouted back, inhaling deeply as the warmth of the key surged through him. As the light enveloped him and Tom, the abyss twisted, the shadows writhed, and faces of pain and sorrow emerged, morphing into comforting smiles as they melted away. Memories unfurled like petals, whispering words of guidance. Each spirit was bathed in light, finally finding release. Jack! Tom shouted, the brilliance surrounding them amplifying by the second. This is it. We're breaking free. Jack nodded, fists tightening around the key as he felt a powerful connection with hope and past that washed over him like a tide, cleansing him. I choose my path. We reject the darkness that binds us. With one decisive thrust of the key, the light erupted, driving the shadows back into the abyss from which they came. With a final scream, the dark entity buckled under the radiant force, its form disintegrating into shimmering particles, carried away on beams of light. The rift closed with a deafening pop, sealing the darkness below. As silence fell, Jack and Tom stood amid the remnants of light, their hearts pounding, panting from the exertion of releasing the shadows. Hope blossomed like wildflowers in spring around them, illuminating a path ahead. We did it, Tom exhaled, wonder painting his features. Yeah, Jack smiled, feeling lighter than air. We faced the darkness and chose our truth. We're free. But what lay ahead remained uncertain. Together, they turned away from the remnants of shadows, knowing the future was theirs to create. Hand in hand, they stepped forward, unfurling into the dawn that awaited them, determined to not let the past anchor them down again, and just like that, the ordinary quiet of their small town moved closer beneath the familiar sunsets, as if rejuvenated, ready to embrace its own chance for a new beginning. Lessons learned would never be forgotten, but they wouldn't be the weight dragging them down. They had faced their demons and emerged stronger, a testament to the power of friendship and resilience. The clock had struck, but this was not the end. This was just the beginning of their transformed lives, and now, let us keep this energy flowing. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on more exclusive stories that dive into the depths of the unknown. Smash the like button to feed the algorithm and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible conclusion. Your support keeps our community thriving, and I want to hear your thoughts. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about how this journey ends. Don't wait even one more second, show your support and join us for all that is yet to come.